in-law has this massive gaff. He's got extensions on the extensions. New car. He's got new teeth. Raking it in, he was. Yeah, but why be bitter?
Yeah, there's no need.
No, well, actually, it turns out that he was embezzling funds from the business. Looks like he's going to do time for it.
Oh, that's desperate.
Yeah, really, really dreadful.
Right. Island's Edge. It's better, less bitter.
Get the facts, be drink aware, visit drinkaware.ie.
From the multi-Oscar nominated writer of The Banshees of Inisherin, Gaiety Productions in association with Decadent Theatre Company presents the Irish premiere of Martin McDonagh's Hangmen, starring a stellar ensemble cast including Aisling O'Sullivan, Dennis Conway, Gary Lydon, Killian Scott. This savage black comedy comes to the Gaiety Theatre from March 11th to April 8th. Tickets from €19 on sale now. Additional charges may apply.
With the ongoing war in Ukraine affecting the cost of energy, many of us are facing a challenging winter. Through Budget 23, government is introducing a range of supports to lessen the financial impact on families, households and businesses, and will continue to monitor the situation in the coming months to protect those in difficulty. It's important that everyone stays warm and well, but where safe and possible to do so, reducing energy use can also reduce bills. Changes like turning your thermostat down by 1 degree and considering how often you use energy-intensive appliances like tumble dryers can make a big difference. For information on available supports and energy-saving advice, visit gov.ie/reduce your use. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
This is an emergency appeal from Concern Worldwide. Families in Turkey and Syria are struggling to survive in the aftermath of 2 devastating earthquakes, and freezing temperatures are making their situation even more desperate. Please help Concern provide blankets and shelter to those most in need. Visit concern.net today and give what you can. Thank you.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
And you're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you through until 5. 1-1 between West Ham and Chelsea in the Premier League. Wayne Barnes is the whistle in his mouth, just about to kick off the Ireland-France Six Nations game at Lansdowne Road. Andy Dunn is there for us. We'll have updates throughout the game. You won't miss a thing. Remember, folks, as well, Braeburn Coffee is the official coffee partner of OTB. Start your morning with a Braeburn Coffee, whether you prefer a classic cappuccino or an iced oat milk latte. Braeburn's got something for everybody, available at Apple Green locations nationwide. So the Very Ireland Camogie Leagues begin this week with Galway, the champions at senior level, and on the line to look ahead is the Cork dual star Hannah Looney. Hannah, how are you today?
I'm good, John. Now, how are you?
Yeah, great to talk to you, Hannah. And you're already involved with the Cork footballers as well. So how difficult will it be to adjust your mind to the small ball next week?
Yeah, I suppose that's a good question. I've really enjoyed having a bit of a lead up of just doing the one sport for a couple of weeks. So, it was great to get like 3 football league games under my belt before kicking off the Camogie now next weekend. I suppose the great thing about football league games is you're kind of building on your fitness unknowns to yourself. So at least I'm kind of going into next weekend kind of ticking that box that I've been putting in the hard slog with the football. My fitness will be okay. The hurling might be a bit rusty, but we'll work on that over the next few leagues. So I'm really looking forward to it. And, I kind of missed the league last year with work, being away for work. So itching to get going now again.
They say it's hard to do in hurling and football to be a dual player. How do you find the rhythm of that? And do you need a PA to organise your diary?
Yeah, it is. People say it's hard, but I think it can be done, and that'll always be my motto as long as I'm enjoying both sports and as long as I'm something to give to both sports. But for me, it's kind of like sitting down on a Sunday, planning out my week, and then maybe having a quick chat with the football manager, Shane Renan, and our Camogie manager, Matthew Toomey, and kind of being like, look, this is where I think I need to do this week. What do you think? And we kind of chat and take it from there. But, very grateful that we have 2 great managers that are willing to communicate and willing to make this work. And, I have Libby Coppinger as well, who's just a phenomenal athlete altogether. She'll train all day, every day for you. And then we've 2 new recruits, I'm going to call them this year, with Orla Catalan and Aoife Healy, who are just 2 young players with bundles of talent. So I'm hoping that they can keep up the duel as well, and we'll have a nice crew of us going forward.
How many times would you train a week then with both the footballers and the Camogie players?
Yeah, I suppose I have another factor to bring into the mix as well. I actually live in Kilkenny and I work in Tips.
So. Enemy territory, Hannah.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be spying away up there. I know. So I probably tend to do my gym sessions and stuff on my own, just, save me a bit of the drive. And then I'm looking at doing at least one football session and at least one camogie session. And then we'll kind of see what the weekend involves. So it's very much like week by week, see how the body's feeling, see where I need to focus on this week. So as I said, it's good enough to manage now at the moment, and we'll see how it goes going forward as well.
In terms of positions on the pitch, you've been as a back, as a forward. I saw you playing there at centre back against the Dubs there recently. Do you have any preferred positions? What have you learned from playing in different areas of the pitch in both sports over the years?
Yeah, I guess especially in the football, I've kind of probably played in every position on the pitch at this stage, between full back and full forward. I think I like being around the middle eight in both sports. I think a middle eight player in football is very similar to a middle eight player in camogie. So, middle of the field is kind of my go-to position for both football and camogie. Might slip back into the half-back line here and there. And if I'm feeling confident with my scoring ability, I might go up front for a bit too. But I think midfield would definitely be my preferred position in both codes.
Would you find at times during the year that there's an imbalance between the proficiency in your skills, that at times you really feel like you have your skills with ladies football on the money and you don't with camogie? Does it work that way? How do you manage the reaction speed, and because you're playing two different sports in the 1 week?
Yeah, definitely. That's a really good question. And I would say there's times of the year. I think more so with camogie rather than football. I feel like if you keep running with football, the skills will come, whereas camogie, it is that bit more technical, I find anyway. So how I tend to work that is, you'll have the conversations in training being like, look, you probably need to spend 20 minutes on your touch, and that might be me doing an extra camogie session instead of a football session 1 week, or just working away 20-30 minutes on my touch or whatever I need throughout the year. So you kind of play that as I go. There'll be times where I feel I need to give more to the football this week, and there'll be times where I need to give more to the camogie. And I suppose as long as I'm on top of it myself and kind of communicate with the lads, it normally works out okay.
The footballers, they were so dominant for a decade, and they haven't won at All-Ireland since 2016. Meath and Dublin have been the top dogs in recent years. Where are they now? You had a very close game with Dublin in the league there recently. Are Cork primed to go again for the All-Ireland?
Yeah, 100%. I think you can never really write off Cork football. I suppose it was interesting for me this year coming into the dressing room at the start of the year and literally not knowing half the names in there. It was kind of a bit of a shock to the system. And when I look, like at the moment, it's only myself and Emer Meany from my age group growing up that would be involved in the panel. So, I was a bit sceptical at the start of the year. I was like, it looks like we're really starting raw, we're really starting fresh here. But since getting into training and playing a couple of matches, there's just a bit of excitement around Cork football at the moment, if I'm being honest. Something that, mightn't have been there, I think, the last couple of years. It's up to us to get that potential out in the pitch and delivering results. But I think I'm definitely excited about what Cork football can do this year, all going well.
Has the style of play in Cork football changed from when you were an All-Ireland winning team?
I think so. I think football in general ladies football is kind of evolving the whole time. When you look at the teams, the Division 1 teams now at the moment, there's nothing between any of the teams from an S&C perspective. Everyone is as fit as they can be, as strong as they can be. And every team has their couple of really skillful players too. So, it's being able to adapt, I think, and being able to bring that mental edge is why Dublin and Meath have won the last couple of Irelands. And, we're all kind of chasing that at the moment, is just being able to adapt. You can't really come in with one style of play anymore because it's just going to be counteracted. So
the camogie team, it was a painful defeat to Kilkenny, a point there at the end of the All-Ireland final last year. I suppose you're not going to lack motivation after that. Did it take a while to get over it?
Yeah, I guess, it was. It was very painful. I suppose for me personally, it was just a bit of a whirlwind because I came back to the season so late last year that I think I was nearly back, and then it was over and we'd lost, and I was sitting there in Crow Park on the pitch, thinking the world was ending, the usual. But I suppose getting older, you kind of learn how to deal with the winters that bit better, because I think win or lose, obviously it's a lot easier when you win. There's a lot more sessions to go to and stuff to bring the cup to, but it's still that bit challenging. So I think, you know, I've just learned to kind of really check in my mental health when winter comes around, and just make sure I'm doing things and being nice to myself and just refocusing, totally trying to take the break as much as possible. It can be hard for a lot of players when they have to go straight back into colleges or X, Y, and Z. But, you know, I think I dealt with the defeat as well as I could this year. You know, enjoyed a couple of months off, kept tipping away at things to keep my mental health and my fitness in shape. And you're kind of just ready now for the new year, you know. And I suppose the Cork team, you know, as I said, when I went into the football dressing room, I didn't know half the faces. Went into the camogie dressing room, everyone was there that I knew for the last couple of years, you know. So there's no really excuses for Cork camogie anymore, being that team in transition, or having younger players in the setup, having X, Y, and Z retired. You know, the team has built. You know, it's about performing now and getting the All Ireland on the first week of August.
Yeah, we talk about amateur players. Obviously, I've got a lot of on their plate, just as much as playing camogie and playing ladies football. Hannah, how is the support structures been for mental health in camogie and ladies football? I know you've spoken about it before. Do you feel like if somebody is just a little bit in a funk, that they can reach out to somebody and get support?
Yeah, definitely. And I think I would harp on about it with such high praise about the sports that I found from my football and camogie career. I think, firstly, you know, football setups, camogie setups, inter-county setups have someone in there looking after mental health in some capacity at the moment. I think most teams in the country will do. We're lucky enough to have someone in camogie and football who are coming in, and they're not just talking about sports psychology. They're kind of recognising that to get sports psychology, to get players playing at their best, they need to be feeling their best outside of sport. So I think that is something that has come into play hugely in the last couple of years. And I know from talking to other players, it's not just me, people really avail of this service where they can just sit down and talk to someone being like, look, I know my football's going poorly, but come here, there's X, Y, and Z going on in my life too as well. How do I? And then when you get to talk with the personal bits, the football, the hurling, the skills, that kind of takes on after. So there's a real onus on that at the moment. And I think it's brilliant, and it's brilliant support. And then, of course, the GPA, I think, are just fantastic between having mental health supports there 24/7. And then also, as I said, more personal coaching, career development, anything you kind of need to keep your life on track, as well as being an inter-county player. The GPA will stand up and look out for you as much as they can. So, you know, it's just bringing awareness to all the players that these services are here, especially the younger ones that are coming into the ranks now as well.
Yeah, and you have to have the right environment, and you have to have that openness in that environment. It seems that if there is somebody struggling in the environment you're in, that there is a relaxed and easy atmosphere for somebody to just have that conversation, and privately if they need to. There doesn't seem to be any kind of stigma around it.
Yeah, I think so. And it's more so, as I said, it's coming in each year. You kind of feel you don't just sit down and talk about tactics. You sit down and talk about how everyone's doing. And I think it's key. And, you know, I think I could be wrong on this stat, but Michelle, who's a new person in with us in Cork Camogie, said that, like, there's two in, like, the person, either the person on the left of you or the person right of you is probably going through something that you don't know about at the moment. So, you know, I think if you're checking in with yourself, you're checking in with your players, it's going to pay off on the pitch at the end of the day. So it's just breaking down that stigma. You know, I might feel comfortable talking about it. You know, 70% of my team might feel comfortable, but getting the new people in, or the people who mightn't be so comfortable, just letting them know that there's help or resources available if they need.
Yes. Davey Fitzgerald was involved with you in the backroom team in the Cork Camogie last year. What did you learn from Davey?
Yeah, he definitely was. Davey, he's a very interesting character. Would be my first line to describe him. But I suppose I probably missed the hard slog that a lot of the girls put in in pre-season. There's been some horrific stories coming back about how hard Davey pushed the girls during pre-season. But, you know, he was very interesting, very vibrant, very encouraging, just brought something different that I suppose we hadn't seen in Cork Camogie before. You know, that kind of a bit of a mental edge, a bit of a spark. And, you know, I think with Davey Fitzgerald, you either buy in or you don't. You're either on the boat or you're drowning. You know, everyone just has to buy in and go for it, whether you agree or don't, or you don't. And I think Cork Camogie did buy into that, and he did bring a lot out of us, and, you know, a bit of crack along the way as well. So, you know, I suppose we're all very grateful for him for spending his time and giving some coaching and advice to Cork Camogie. And I suppose the big thing for us is just building on that now next year and this year.
You know, when I'm just looking at the landscape, Hannah, of the last 10 All-Irelands, in every single All-Ireland you had Cork, Kilkenny and Galway, and the last 7 league finals being the same 3 teams. Does Camogie have a challenge in that regard?
Yeah, I suppose you'd say, you'd look back and you kind of, each year you'll go Cork, Galway, Kilkenny, Cork, Galway, Kilkenny. Some years there might be 2 of them better than the one, but it seems to be that 3 teams. But having said that, I think each year that gap is closing. You know, if you look at the likes of Waterford and Tip are biting at that kind of leading pack, and then other teams like Dublin coming up the ranks as well. So, you know, as I said, I think all teams at the moment are on par in S&C, and that's kind of really paying off. So I wouldn't sit here and say it's a problem, because that gap is getting closed every year, and this year will be no different. You know, there's going to be an upset eventually, and that's going to knock out one of the 3 of us in a stage that we don't want to be knocked out. So I hope it won't be us in Cork Camogie, but you know, it's something that I'm sure Cork Camogie Association will be keeping an eye on, but I really think that gap is getting closed.
And Dalton was on Lake Regale this week, and much praise for it, and that's a welcome development and great to see, and hopefully opening the door for a lot more of these types of documentaries.
Yeah, exactly. I think Anne Dalton is a fantastic camogie player and a fantastic ambassador for the sport. You know, I've met Anne on a couple of occasions, and, you know, her mindset and dedication to camogie is just phenomenal, and what she achieved has been phenomenal. So it was great to see her get that opportunity to highlight her success in Lake Regale. And, you know, if you look at some of the recent retirements in Cork Camogie and Cork football, there'd be many. You could make many a series to document their successes. So, you know, we'll hopefully see more of that in the future. You know, when you do look at the men to women ratio on Lake Regale, there's always only one. So, you know, that's something that, and it's not from lack of successful women's athletes in GAA at all. So, you know, we'll hopefully see that gap get closer and closer to more 50-50 as we go on.
Absolutely. And speaking of, obviously the women's GPA are now with the GPA, and there was an update from the GA, the LGFA and the Camogie Association yesterday about the planned merger of all the associations. A survey will be conducted later in the year across members of all 3 organisations on the opportunities and challenges the full integration between the 3 bodies will present. As somebody who's involved in camogie and ladies football, what are your thoughts on a merger, just in terms of the sensibility of it and the facilities and the, I suppose, the appetite, the political will for it as well?
Yeah, like, you know, I think if you talk to any female, male player, they're going to say it's a no-brainer. You know, and I suppose something that really excited me was Mary McAleese getting involved. You know, that's a huge statement. You know, Mary McAleese is such a role model and an idol of mine. You know, she's a fantastic president, a fantastic solicitor, a fantastic human rights ambassador, and has a wealth of experience in resolution of conflicts. So, you know, it's such a huge statement to have her involved in a process like this. You know, there's a lot, like, you know, it's not as easy as saying, right, let's make this happen, but there's no point saying let's make this happen 5 years down the line either. It needs to start happening now. And, you know, I might just give a good example of where it's happening at the moment, even from like a grassroots level, which I'm really proud of. My own club here, I had a GAA recently passed a vote to have the club as one club. So camogie ladies football and the GA will be under the one association in our club. So if you pay your membership, you're a part of the three organisations. So that's something that I'm hugely proud of. And I think if each club can start making that statement, that's going to rub off and going to get up the ranks eventually, so.
There's a bottom-up approach to that, Hannah. What is the biggest drawback of not being involved in an umbrella organisation? Is it basic facilities? Is it access to pitches? Is it that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of things. I suppose pitches, funding. You just always kind of feel like a second-class citizen when you're really not part of that GA, but you're kind of a part of it, and especially it just adds more complications when the camogie and ladies football aren't even together. And like their relationship has improved over the years, but a lot to go. When you look at like Parky Queeve and Parky Ring, and the guys will play there every weekend, no joke. We'll be fighting tooth and nail to get into one of those pitches. So things like that are just huge. And I think it would just be like, you look at the workplace, you look at any other sport, well, maybe not at all sports, but you look at like a workplace, for example, like there's a huge draw here on diversity, inclusion, 50-50, women, men. It just has to be coming from the GAA as well. It's just a no-brainer in the society we live today that we're not under the one roof. Yeah,
I think the appetite is there from Tom Ryan, the Director General, for this to happen. Hopefully it will happen sooner rather than later, and any entrenched attitudes can be wiped away. Just in terms of the Cork hurlers and footballers, Pat Ryan's now with the hurlers. They beat Limerick there last weekend, and the footballers in Division 2. How do you feel about their chances this year?
Yeah, look, I suppose the hurlers had a great win last weekend. I thoroughly enjoyed that match. I suppose, everyone watching that match at halftime was like, oh God, is it going to run away from us all together here? And then that team that came out in the second half, just pushing up on players, taking fantastic scoring opportunities, young players like Owen Downey and Kieran Joyce just standing up to this Limerick team. This really, really hugely successful Limerick team was just a joy to watch. So, I was a very proud Cork supporter watching that match there last weekend. But at the same time, if you're a Limerick supporter, you're not going to be one bit worried about what Limerick have to produce. There's a lot being said about the hurling league at the moment. Is it a no-show? Is it a no-brainer? Are we going to see anything from it? But I think there'll be a lot to learn all the same. And I really hope that Cork hurling team can just keep building because they're not far off it. And I think that's the appetite in Cork at the moment, that they're not far off it, but just need to find that edge to bring them to the next level, like ourselves in the women's side of it, So, and then I guess with the football, seeing John Cleary involved, I suppose personally I would have worked under John Cleary. He would have been a minor ladies football manager for me 2 years in a row, and I just think he's absolutely brilliant, one of the best managers I've ever had. So I know the footballers are in safe hands there. There's a lot of negativity around Cork football the last 5 years or so. When you look back and think the last time they won Stan Maguire was in 2010, Conor Coonihan and Hadaman would have been the manager around then, and it just kind of fell apart after that, I suppose. So I think that negativity is getting less and less, and Cork supporters are getting back behind the footballers because there is great potential there and there's great appetite. And as long as I think any Cork supporter just wants to see Cork players giving it their absolute everything, and I think if they can do that in both codes, there's nothing stopping the Cork hurlers going all the way to an All-Ireland. And who knows what the Cork footballers can achieve if they pull out their best performances.
Yeah, 2005 since the last time the hurlers won. 2010 since the footballers won. You were in New York for a bit. I think was it during COVID, Hannah? You were working over there.
So I moved over October 2021 till June 2022. So kind of an opportunity kind of came up in work and sent me over there. So I kind of grabbed it with both hands, to be honest with you, and loved every minute of living in New York City. It's just you can be you can be whoever you want over there, and I just love the vibrant and the busyness of it all. And I had a fantastic time, met some fantastic people, and you know, it's definitely a place I want to go back and live and work. And I haven't quite scratched the itch of living there when I did. So I'll definitely be back at some stage in the future.
Does it do a lot for your personal development?
100%. You know, I think, you know, growing up, I was Hannah Looney. I was a footballer, I was a camogie player. I was like, who am I outside of that? You know, that would have been something that, you know, I'd struggle with. And I know from talking to other footballers, camogie players, hurlers, that's something that we all kind of struggle with. You know, you're really good at what you do, but, you know, what are you outside of it? So that was something that's always kind of been on my mind that I work through now and then. But I think going off to New York on my own, figuring all that out, and just throwing myself in there, and like figuring out that I'm so much more than a footballer and a camogie player, that I have so much more to offer, was really, really eye-opening. And as you say, really, really good from a personal development perspective. Yeah. You know, and if opportunities come like that in the future, I'll definitely be taking them, because, you know, it just did so much for me.
What's the day job?
I'm a chemical engineer.
Oh, very good. Okay, so I've no idea. I haven't the first notion about what that entails, but I'm sure it's very complicated, Hannah.
It sounds worse than it is. I'm working in the pharmaceutical industry at the moment, so you know, I'd be passionate about new drug development and new drug research. So that's kind of the space I work in.
Very good, Hannah. Well, the best luck with the camogie and the football teams this year. Thanks for speaking to Off the Ball Saturday, and look forward to chatting again.
Thanks so much, John. Enjoy your weekend.
All right, Hannah Looney there, a Cork Jewel star, ahead of the camogie, the Very Ireland Camogie Leagues, which start next weekend, and obviously involved with the footballers already, and a big year ahead for Cork, both codes. A lot happening at the Lansdowne Road in the rugby. Ireland against France. 21 minutes on the watch here. Andy Dunn, what's happening?
Yeah, 20 into the 20